Korean Christianity, that is, the main branch of the church. Don't be too crazy for money. Even if I am a little poor, I am happy to help each other and live. This is the spirit of the Reformation. Unless the Bible was taught according to the Bible. At the time, the Church interpreted the Bible allegorically. It is called allegorical interpretation. The priests interpreted the Bible by putting their thoughts on. It was a nose ring when hung on the nose, and an earring type when hung on the ear. So the Reformers tried to find the original, unspoiled message of Jesus contained in the Bible. Through it, I tried to restore the authority of the Bible. Korean Church, was it different in the past? Early Christianity was persecuted. Koreans were also persecuted for ceremonial issues, persecuted by Japanese imperialism, and persecuted by communists during the Korean War. At that time, when I became a Christian, it was more difficult to live in the world. So pure people became Christians. Their faith was also pure at that time, even when there was a church where believers gathered. The pastor's diet and the funds for the operation of the church came to the church with rice, fruit, and sea meat that the believers brought. And the Korean church began to see worship services, started to run as a traders' assembly. And as the number of church members increased, the fact that many church members became mentally ill. The pastors seemed to be happy, as if they were plotting their positions and types of sermons. Which of the two is the Korean church serving now? What will you be serving? Look at Christian history. When the chapel grew and the number of members increased, money was unavoidably considered important. The Korean church is like that now. What is the blessing of Jesus? The blessing of the poor in spirit? When the heart is poor, you don't think that I am strong, I am wise, or I have a lot. It is the heart that I have nothing to boast about through worldly values. Only when we become such a mind, we experience peace. That's what the Bible says about blessings. Professor Sun Bong Ho said, a society where people feed food with chopsticks longer than their arms. A society that feeds each other is heaven. Hyuk Jae Kwon, photo reporter. At the end of these words, Professor Sohn cited heaven and hell as examples. It's a common story. Chopsticks in heaven and hell are longer than human arms. When I go to hell, I try to put food in my mouth, but everyone is starving. They feed each other when they go to heaven, so they live well. So what is the ideal society? It is a society that feeds each other. That is the heaven our Christianity pursues. Historically, the Reformation was the birthplace of capitalism. Reformers such as Luther and Calvin emphasized labor. Professor Sun said, if you work a lot, you produce a lot. Then you will have something left to eat. The Reformers said to help the poor with it. Luther said, the reason we work hard is to help the poor. And Calvin said, the reason God made some people rich is to share them with the poor. It still remains. It is Luther's influence that has developed welfare in Protestant countries such as Norway, Denmark and Sweden. The United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and New Zealand have a culture of donation. The rich donate a lot. Korean society and the Korean church have lost that spirit. I am interested in making money, but sharing is very lacking. Luther advocated the man-in-priest. What does it mean? In the Middle Ages, only Catholic priests read the Bible in Latin and served God. Luther and Calvin pointed this out. He said that everyone can serve God without going through a priest. But what about now? Luther's men-in-priest rather aims at the Korean church. Why are you aiming at the Korean church? There is a climate in Korean churches as if only pastors are serving God. Like a medieval priest. Do you have a conscience? To act as a psychotic person instead of a conscience. The main difference between psychopath and sociopath is whether he has a conscience. A small voice that tells him what he is doing wrong. Says L. Michael Tompkins, ed. He is a psychologist at the Sacramento County Mental Health Treatment Center. Psychopath has no conscience. If he lies to you so that he can steal your money, he will not feel moral discomfort even if he pretends. He can observe others and then act the way they do so they don't get discovered, says Tompkins. Sociopath is generally conscientious but weak. They may know that getting your money is wrong and they may feel guilty or regret, but that won't stop their behavior. Both lack empathy and lack the ability to stand in the other person's shoes and understand how they feel. But psychopaths are less caring about others, says Dr. Aaron Kipnis, author of The Midas Complex. A person with this personality type considers others to be objects that can be used for their own benefit.